in brightest day, in blackest night. All other podcasts tremble in fright. Losers cower before the power. Oranges lust and blues you can trust. Indigos feel and white ones heal. Yellow scare and green ones dare. That sapphire love and black hands glove will rock your foundation without hesitation. Chad and Mars face evil's might. Respect their power, for they'll make you see the light. Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Bokelman.
I'm Mark Marble.
And this is the LanternCast.
Episode 656.
That's right. It is time for another issue of Green Lantern. Tonight we're doing issue number 37. Should we just dive right in?
I reckon so, because we got a lot of stuff on the plate, which at least should make the next few recordings quite interesting, with the issue, of course, being some of the least interesting stuff we'll talk about in the next 2 weeks. But nonetheless, so we're going to do Green Lantern 37. Interesting cover. Kyle's outfit almost on this main cover looks almost more like Simon's to a certain extent. But Kyle answering social media attacks and emails, which relates to the issue at least. So at least it's a practical cover. Odyssey looks freaky as hell on that cover.
Yeah, I posted something we'll talk about later, also on like the Facebook group for Myron's, Facebook group about Green Lantern. I posted it on our Twitter. I also went to post it over on Reddit, and unprompted, someone called this cover. She said, "Who is this Timu Harley Quinn?" Yes,
I actually, it is. I was going to reference that she does look like Harley Quinn, but nonetheless. So let's jump right into it. We begin with some online gamer who's obviously comes across as kind of being rude and being a jerk. He's waiting for a food delivery, which of course he thinks that's what's knocking on his door, and they kind of like when he's about to, before he opens the door, the guy's reading of his asking him whether this is are you the screen name or handle, and he says yes. He opens the door, and of course he promptly gets eaten, which we see off screen, but we'll come back to that. So the actual issue title is Don't Feed the Trolls. Jeremy Adams, Romanico, Romulo Fajardo Jr., Dave Sharp, won't do the variant cover artist, Gillian Grant, Kathleen Wisniewski, and Paul Kaminsky. So pretty much the usual suspects. We cut back to Kyle in Odyssey, basically now looking back at Odyssey's big red carpet moment. And of course, Kyle is a little too typical Kyle, being self-obsessed. All he cares about himself is like, hey, I looked pretty good, didn't I? I look dashing. And she's all upset because she's getting all this social media hate by the way she looked, and she's a copycat. And are we supposed to care about that star in her face and all the stars? It's just a lot of mean social media crap being directed towards her. Kyle gets pissed at that, and he jumps on her phone, and he starts defending her, and it just ends up becoming a cluster. It's like, I'm going to do this. I was like, I kind of like Steve Rogers. I can do this all day. And it's like, I can do this if it takes me all night. And then like you jump forward 14 hours later, and Kyle is still doing it. And then Odyssey's passed out at this point. Kyle no longer cares, because as soon as Jay texts him to say, hey, you want to do breakfast, he leaves Odyssey to herself, even though apparently there's a I hate Odyssey club now, which I think we're supposed to clearly suspect Kyle has helped create inadvertently.
Where's our invite?
Oh, to the I hate Odyssey club. Gotcha. You would think we would have been the charter members of the He-Man Woman Haters Club, the LanternCast Odyssey Haters Club. Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Odyssey and Odyssey comes across as being much more likable than Kyle in this whole exchange, because Kyle just makes her life more miserable. Plus, he ditches her any chance that he can get. We cut to space where, oh my God, and we'll talk about this later, Hal is actually back in space with Toby, Y2K, nobody cares either, and Jaina, and why, we'll come back to that in a moment, but it's not like the editorial group bothers giving us even a little blurb to say, hey, if you want to know what happened to Hal while he was gone and how Hal ended up here, see Emperor Aquaman, blah, 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 blah. No, we can't even get that. So all this is a little, Toby's futzing around with the ship, and he succeeds, and they end up following this rainbow trail, which I guess I'm going to suspect is related to the emotional spectrum. But somehow this is related to Hal's vision with Krona, and that's the direction that Hal believes that they need to go in. That's all we get in Hal in this issue. Kyle meets Jade, and they have coffee, and they're talking about this. Meanwhile, over at Odyssey's apartment, Kyle's apartment, I forget who the hell's apartment it technically is. I know they live together, so I guess it doesn't matter. That the same person that ate the gamer shows up at Odyssey's place looking for Kyle, because Kyle, like I said, if you're a man, like, come here and face me, face to face. So he's there while Jaden. Again, this whole issue is pretty heavy-handed about social media, which we can relate to, and we agree with how social media sucks. Mm-hmm. But it's also, obviously, Jeremy is working out some of his own issues of how he's been treated on social media in the story. So there's not really, it's true, but there's not a lot of subtlety to it. Jade kind of is doing the same thing, talking about how horrible social media is, and then Kyle gets a phone, his phone rings. He thinks it looks like it would be from Odyssey's phone, but it really isn't from Odyssey. It's from whoever took Odyssey, which is what Zamara. And he says, you better meet me here or else you're going to lose another woman in your life, which is an interesting reference point, which I guess probably ties into the endings of the issue somehow. Which we cut to an Essex secret headquarters of SHADE at Essex Air Base, in which a General Frank is talking to a major about how there's a Green Lantern who's basically been collecting aliens and kind of getting in our way because we're collecting aliens and experimenting on them, and we can't have this guy interfering, cutting in on our action. So that's when the major says, don't worry, the major says, oh, yeah, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We get to the Teddy's Hotel, which is a friggin' weird name for a hotel, and we see who Zamara really is, and literally it's a troll. He's a living, breathing troll who also happens to be a troll online. A little heavy-handed, perhaps. Not bad. Not a bad design, though. Kyle cuts his arm off with an energy sword. This doesn't really do much because his arm he reattaches his arm and or grows it back. He also is another alien who seems to break through Kyle's energy constructs, which either is related to the Essex Shade Project, or you have to suspect there's something going on now with Kyle. It's not necessarily unique to Dr. Skin, because this is the second straight villain Kyle's fought that's been able to break and shatter his energy construct pretty easily. Jade, who is there, but it really isn't doing anything. Odyssey, who I even forgot, has a magic sword named Excalibur. Is this supposed to be the Excalibur? I don't know. I don't even give a shit if it is. But she freaks out, and she is mad at being thrown around and being abducted by him. So she lays into him something fierce and cuts him to pieces. But of course, it doesn't kill him because of what's ever going on with him. But she's holding his dismembered head. It is funny how Jade and Kyle are reacting to this. It's like, ooh, let's not look at this. I like the fact that Odyssey's openly willing to acknowledge that she had no way of knowing whether Zamara was going to survive this or not. She didn't care, and that's when she makes the point of, hey, I'm not a hero after all. And they're trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do with this guy, especially because he's in pieces and he might reconstitute himself. And then we hear a voice say, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everything." And with a big splash page saying, "Hey kid, long time no see," and it's Major Force, who, for those who do remember, if you don't remember, this splash page will have actually no impact on you at all. But Major Force was pretty much the first real villain Kyle ever fought, and the one who killed Alex and stuck her in the fridge. So next issue, Major Conflict. Where does the Rainbow Road lead? And the big belly burger battle begins. Like we give a rat's friggin' ass about that. That was one of the big saving graces about this issue. We had none of those belly burger guys in it. That's it.
I want to start with the positive because we're going to spend a lot of time on the negative. Just because obviously Jeremy's making a commentary here about some stuff and how much of it is personal and how much of it is just true. Whatever. As far as positives go, Zermanico's back doing all of the art. Now, I'm not saying that there's not spaces where Zermanico's artwork looks weird to me, or he renders certain people strangely, but we have Zermanico every panel, every page throughout this entire issue. And Zermanico, compared to others that we've had on the series, whether that's temporary or for a few issues or whatever, Zermanico is the most consistently best. That's my opinion.
Yeah, the art's better. There's no doubt the art's better in this issue.
More DC stuff being roped in here. You know who General Frank is, yes?
I feel like I should, but off the top, refresh my memory and I'll tell you if it's
So Shade is the Superhuman Advanced Defense Executive, which the last time we saw them, it was a team consisting of some creature commandos led by Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
So General Frank is Frankenstein, and if you zoom in, because he's hard to see.
I
in the
did notice
shadows.
that there was something that made it look like he wasn't just normal. Okay, that makes sense.
So that is Frankenstein, and he is the general.
Oh yeah, now I see it. Now
Yeah.
you can't see it once you're looking for it.
Yeah. So that is Frankenstein. So we're cleverly roping in some DC elements here. So that's totally fine with me. I will also say, speaking of Jade, yes, I've got a bug up my ass about her and her cheating on Kyle and all of this stuff. That said, her trying to talk him down, saying you know better than this, and like her, just being a shoulder to lean on for Kyle, like they are making her likable. Okay, so that's great. Whatever my personal feelings are about Jade and Jade's relationship with Kyle, at least they're making her a likable character and a positive influence on Kyle thus far.
Agreed.
Odyssey is less annoying.
Yes.
This issue also relatively reasonable, and then also do some character development with the fact that she just runs up to this guy with a sword and beheads him, and you get a reminder in a very stark way, because I love that panel of the back of Odyssey's head. You're looking at Jade and Kyle with their eyes wide, like, oh, I had no idea he would survive that. And they're like, oh, you really just beheaded a dude. Like, we definitely gotta talk about that. This is clearly not a hero, So like, they're reminding us, the audience, that she's not one of us. So like, as much as I don't even know that it's fair to say that I hate Odyssey. I hate that we're putting so much of a focus on her when she hasn't earned that spot.
You hate her use and the way she's being used.
Yes, she could be a good character. There's clearly some depth there, and Jeremy is relatively good at understanding characters and personalities and so on and so forth. Though I think he has taken Kyle back several steps in his personal development in terms of how we've seen him kind of deal with sloth and laziness in terms of going after the people he's there on Earth for, his vanity that you pointed out in this issue. I think as far as characterization for most characters go, Jeremy tends to hit the spot in understanding the roots of these characters. But I feel like it's safe to say at this point, he is taking Kyle back a few steps. I'm not saying he doesn't understand Kyle. It just feels like his understanding of Kyle is outdated.
Yeah, I would agree. This issue it's better. So again,
Yes.
it's as we kind of have jokingly said before, it's like the slogan for the last few issues is this sucks less than last month. So we're trending upward. It's still just ultimately not a particularly interesting story that we're in, and the only one that looks like it's going to have major Green Lantern relevance would be Hal's, and either he's not in the issue or he only gets 2 pages of meaningless screen time, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
The Major Force stuff was good. Again, it's not. It also, like I mentioned, it's kind of counting a lot on people, on old school people. Only old school people are even going to know what that means. The way the way they drop him in without even, because technically speaking, you don't even say his name. You just say, oh, next month, major conflict, or next issue, major conflict. Yeah, the character's name is Major Force, and he's only referred to as Major, so his actual his character name is not used in the issue at all. So if you don't know. It's like if you know, you know. But if you're a much newer Green Lantern fan, that's not, that impact of that splash page is going to be less. It's not going to be there. So, which again, you take the good with the bad in doing something like this. For the full impact of the surprise, it's like, well, I guess that's what you have to do. But I mean, I'm glad, it's the one villain I suppose we always want to see Kyle square off against, even though he's another villain, much less important. But another villain like Cyborg Superman, that how many times people have tried to kill him and they just can't. And I was like, Jesus, can't somebody figure out a way to off this guy already?
Didn't he get beheaded and sent off to the stars by Kyle at one point?
Something like that.
Kind of like how, oddly enough, the way the Guardians basically took Krona and disembodied his energy, and they, we don't believe in the death penalty. We're too far evolved for that. But what we will do is disintegrate you into energy atoms and send your energy on a tour of the cosmos that'll never encounter another human being for all eternity. We won't kill you.
We'll just make you wish you were dead.
It's just, To be fair, Major Force, like Kyle, although, as I just mentioned, it feels like Jeremy's taken him a few steps back, and maybe he'll do the same with Major Force. Major Force has done some growing in the DC universe, although obviously relatively less growing than Kyle, just because the amount of focus that's put on Major Force as opposed to Kyle in the general DCU. I think most people would think of Major Force from either, as you mentioned, the origins with Kyle in relation to the death of Alex, but also I think the Superman Batman Public Enemies was that. Yeah, there was an animated adaptation, but that was also an adaptation of the story in the comics, Public Enemies, where like we had President Lex Luthor and Major Force was one of his enforcers. Essentially, he was part of the team alongside Captain Atom and so on and so forth. So like Major Force, if that was your most recent understanding of Major Force, I think that's a little outdated. Although I can't tell you exactly, point to what issues he's had like focus and growth, but he has had some growth. So it'll be interesting to see how these two characters, also including Jade, because she knows the history there with Kyle and Alex, obviously. So like how all three of these characters have grown over the past few years and how long the conflict between them, because we anticipate there has to be one, actually lasts compared to what we would expect. So there's a little bit of, I'm curious. But also, the cover to next issue features Condiment King. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah. And besides, didn't Major Force, he also was he killed Aricia one of those times, didn't he?
I think so.
That's why Guy went back. That's why Guy seemingly killed him one time because in that crossover. Yeah, it is an interesting. You would think there's some kind of change in Major Force just by the way he's greeting Kyle, even though that could just be, a-hole on parade. Yeah. But I thought but just by the way it was written, it was kind of interesting. It's like, hey kid, it's like kind of like that line from the Doomsday trailer we're going to talk about. Hey pal, it's like wow, it's like that's not the way you would expect him to be greeting Kyle. It's like people are like, hey, I know what you're thinking, but let's talk about this first.
Yeah. I think the negatives that we'll talk about have actually more to do with the series than the individual issues. So are there any negatives about the issue you want to talk about, the issue itself, before we jump into Emperor Aquaman just very briefly?
The negative about, again, the way they treat Hal. Hal's back, but we don't know why how he's back, and he gets like 2 pages of screen time, which really accomplished nothing. Again, is Jeremy writing Booster Gold or something?
I don't know.
I just trying to figure out if there was again, I'm not since subtlety is not strong in this issue, I'm trying to figure out if that's the reason why we get a Booster Gold poster on the gamer's wall before he gets killed. No, the issue is Kyle's costume aside.
Yeah, but we'll get
I know. I'm just saying it looks. I probably would look less horrible if you didn't see Kyle's eyes. I think that's just not a good look for most of these Green Lantern with masks on. But other than some art problems, the only real issue I have, again, like you said, it's overall, it's the fact that the story that's being told is not really thrilling, and it's like, I don't understand why the framing device for almost everything right now is Odyssey.
Before we move on to Emperor Aquaman, one thing I just remembered, the point that Jeremy's making about social media is extremely valid, and we don't need to get super deep into that, but it does bring up something I've been thinking about and wrestling with over the past several months about AI and social media and so on and so forth. Is, yes, obviously we have a problem with AI with relation to art and imagery, taking copyrighted material and people's hard work and just kind of mishmashing things together to get what you want out of it, and the moral problems, the financial problems with stealing people's artwork and making profit off of it in some way, shape, or form. But the other side of AI that I also have a problem with is the idea that right now on social media, rage and anger sells. It gets attention. It's literally it has a name. It's called rage bait. The more people can piss you off, the more they're going to comment. You're going to comment on what they are posting, thus getting them the engagement, building their audience so that they can do it again. And we also know that there are bot accounts, so many different bot accounts on social media made for various promotion and things like that, partnerships, based on the audience that they get. These bots are not run by people. As the name implies, they're run by bots, AI. So by being dicks online and proving to the rage baiters that anger rates and gets the engagement necessary to get your sponsorships and get people to pay attention to the numbers that are coming to your posts, we are literally teaching AI not to be reasonable or help people or be kind or anything like that. We are teaching AI that anger sells. So what ends up happening is the real people participating in the rage bait and just bitching at each other and screaming at each other on social media and being rude all the time is you're helping these shitheads make money, and you're making the social media even worse because AI is learning that rage sells and therefore creating more bot accounts to add more of it to your timeline. So there is a very deep and important point that Jeremy is making. Obviously, part of it could just be directed at him just working his own things out about how people react to it, which, by the way, I would just say, just in our defense, we never make it personal.
Yep.
So there's that. Maybe some people could see critiques that like we make as personal, but we never intended that way. And, obviously we spoke with Jeremy, and none of that stuff that we said on that initial interview, just gets wiped away because he wrote a shitty story. He was kind to us. He was engaging. He was funny. He's clearly a fan of Green Lantern. And so all love to Jeremy Adams, but we're talking about the finished product, not the man. So maybe there's a difference there. But I think this was just my opportunity to talk about that because it's something I've been thinking about, is that just by buying into the bait of people talking shit online, you're already actively making your experience on every social media platform worse by participating in it.
No, I agree. And actually one thing that wasn't mentioned, other than the fact that they made him a little too goofy at times, Zamora would be almost like a perfect Red Lantern candidate.
Yes,
but I guess he still could be, but they just throw in a little bit of that humor, which I think takes away from that hard edge that he has. But maybe that's what they want for down the road.
All right, so Emperor Aquaman. I'm not going to. I have it in front of me, but I'm not going to do any sort of recap. Essentially, Hal was kidnapped by somebody who was a part of the Omni Omega Plus Entertainment Corps, which we heard about with Omega Bam Man and all that shit a long time ago. Apparently, they have their own their what they call their Corporate Orbital Reconnaissance Patrol, or CORP, the Corps. And their symbol is literally just the Green Lantern symbol turned on its side at a 90-degree angle. And
copyright infringement.
But they say apparently the Guardians never trademarked. So like it's a whole dumbass thing. They wanted to recruit Hal to join their corps. He calls his ring to him. He escapes. And Aquaman happens to be there. I will say a couple of things about this. One, always nice to have DC characters interact cross-franchise, so that's fun. And we've talked about in the past how Jeremy's good at doing that. Also in this issue, I think the art, while more cartoonish than Zermanico's art, is also fun, relatively well done throughout this. Nice colors, good action, so on and so forth. There's a moment we get of Hal helping Arthur escape while Arthur is weak and trying to call him Artie. There's a moment where we see some spaceships and Hal gets the whole I can fly anything moment. There's a moment where he gets to punch people in the face. There's a moment where Arthur gets to shine and use some of his new powers that have been showcased in the DCU recently. The fact that, how we have like the red and the green and so on and so forth. Well, Arthur has been now connected to the blue, which affords him more powers than we have seen Arthur have in a long time. And, the two banter back and forth as old friends do. We get a Parallax flashback, just brief moment, Hal talking about, what that amount of power can do to you over time and so on and so forth. So I think as a as just a moment for Hal Jordan, it's fine. But is it critical to you to read? No. And clearly it's not critical enough to the creative team or editorial, because they make no mention that this even happened.
Yeah, which is really that's poor. That's really poorly done.
Yeah. And one final thing I will say, because I mentioned posting some information over on Reddit, some people have made mention that they actually think the people who are reading both Jeremy's Aquaman run and Green Lantern have said they agree that Green Lantern is not doing well or sucks in their opinion, and they actually have been really enjoying Aquaman. So for whatever that is worth to you folks out there, maybe if you're curious about the Aquaman run and Jeremy's writing on that, maybe pick up issue 18, because Hal is there as just like an appetizer for you to kind of get your feet wet in this, so to speak. You know, we're talking about Aquaman, so pun implied, I guess. And if you like 18, maybe pick up the series.
Yep, might be worth a shot.
All right, rant time.
I actually thought that was the rant, Chad, but feel free. Yes.
No. So the overall problems that we have about this series, the fact that Odyssey has been made a main character. Odyssey, I'm going to recap some of the stuff that we know already about this, but Odyssey was introduced in issue 19 of Green Lantern. We just covered 37, so he introduced her 18 issues ago. And all he's done of any significance with her in the 18 issues since was build a sort of almost romantic tension, not even like a full-on relationship between her and Connor, and made constantly vague like insinuations that she had like this dark past. And now when he did that, so she's introduced in issue 19, the whole thing where she was made basically a co-main character happened in 33. So that was 14 issues after her introduction, despite him doing barely anything with developing her and giving her a semi-relationship with Connor. And the only thing they've actually even done with her in terms of that relationship with Connor of any significance, they've utterly abandoned. So she really has had no development. Not like facetiously no development. Literally, if you're going to abandon the main thing you did with her, making her tied somewhat to Connor, and then never mention it again, then you have abandoned the only thing you did with her in the first place, literally meaning there has been zero development of this character before you made her co-lead. Issue 33, because you've been bringing up the numbers every time you get them, issue 33, issue 600, was ranked 68, okay? Green Lantern 36, the issue before this, was ranked 141. So in 3 issues, Jeremy has taken this title from number 68, which is weird even by the way that a hyped anniversary issue, like 600, only got as high as 68, and dropped it 73 spots. Add to that the fact that Krona was revealed in Green Lantern Corps issue 8. That's the actual the issue we got the word Krona on page. Obviously they were hinting about he and the gauntlet and all this stuff issues before, but the moment they named Krona was issue 8, which came out on September 10th, and the Green Lantern issue that same month was on the 22nd, and that was issue 27. So that makes the Krona reveal 10 issues ago. It has been 10 issues, and we don't know why Krona is back. We don't know why he had the little versions of the entities, let alone why he apparently like let them go. Why he chose Hal to disguise himself as, why Hal is having these visions, what they mean, and add to that, we straight up didn't even see Hal in some of the recent issues. So
and we haven't seen Krona since what, issue 33? That's the anniversary issue.
I think maybe.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Because I'm pretty sure because that was the framing device to give us the Hal Jordan origin story in issue 600.
So Jeremy has in 37 issues of this series, with all of the stuff that he dragged out, with everything in regards to the Union and or the interplanetary stuff and all of I forget the name of it, the United Planets and all of that stuff, he still hasn't learned to not drag stuff out. And he made a co-main character out of somebody he didn't bother to develop for for 14 issues before he made her a co-lead. Add to that the problems that we have been having with this series in terms of editing. Is anybody at the wheel at editing? Because with issue 25, that was the issue. Green Lantern 25 was the issue where we had that double page spread where we had all the power batteries on the screen, and literally on the same double page spread, despite the fact that we saw 7 power batteries, somebody straight up said we didn't even build the Violet battery.
Yep.
Then we add to that something simple. We can't even get the damn symbol of Kyle right on this new costume, because when we see it on this cover for this issue and the previous issue's cover and this upcoming issue 38's cover, it's a regular Green Lantern symbol, whereas the real version of this symbol for this costume should just basically be an extended green rectangle, vertical rectangle with a white oval in the center. That's really what it should be. But we can't get that right. So much so that last issue, one of the other artists drew his symbol as a literal solid green circle, and that's it. So we can't even get some consistency in our storytelling, in our art, in our editorial. We can't get consistency in development of characters. The freaking sales are tanking, and for better or worse, my whole point is this: Lanterns is the next major project of the DCU, and it's going to be here any moment. But the main title of the franchise of characters that's being featured on this is flopping so hard that longtime fans don't even care. So why isn't there a creative team change solicited, or a new title, or a prequel, or a one-shot, or a special? It's like DC is thinking, we're going to let Lanterns come and go, all while letting the flagship title of this Lantern franchise drown in the deep end of the sales charts. So why even capitalize on the first major multimedia attention this franchise has gotten in the past 15 years?
Can't really disagree with anything you said there. I mean, we're kind of been on the same page about this. I mean, we like Jeremy, and Jeremy does do certain things particularly well, as far as like he's usually really good at character development, or he gets a voice. He understands the voice of certainly certain characters, and he's good at writing in that voice. Not flawlessly. We even during the United Planets arc, he had Hal do a bunch of weird things that didn't seem Hal-like, as far as not running in, getting caught with your pants down like twice with Theros, and then doing the same thing basically the second time with the when it went to Thanagar, I think. I guess it comes back to the same point, is that I don't know what he's trying to accomplish in this arc. I don't know what the end game is with this arc. We have over in Core, we have things that could very easily change the status quo and have major ramifications for the Green Lantern Corps, the Green Lantern mythology, short term, I'm sure, like everything else, or even the universe. And while the Hal stuff with Krona could possibly be that too in the main book, certainly the stuff with Odyssey isn't. And the Major Force and whatever the hell people are doing on Earth with experimenting on aliens, it's like, this really isn't Green Lantern Corps mythology, earth-shattering major stuff. And I know not every single thing needs to be, but it seems like it's an odd choice of going down this road and it's just like an albatross, I think, around Kyle's neck. It's the fact that he's saddled with this story, and not that he's being written overly well and but it's still, it's like, if somebody really wanted to make sure Kyle didn't get a book anytime soon, this is kind of pretty much how you would do like giving him almost like a mini series. It's like, we really don't want him to get a book, or I don't want him to get a book. So what can we possibly do to make everybody go, well, yeah, we're not going to greenlight that book. Look at the last time we used the character. That's kind of what this is like. Now, I don't think clearly Jeremy's doing it for that reason. But the point is, I mean, unless Jeremy's really, really that desperate to get off this book and DC wants him to stay, but he really wants to go, and it's like, I'm going to give him a reason to get me off his book. I don't know where it's going, and it just seems the Krona stuff's dragged on way too long, and we don't even know really what's going on there at all, like you mentioned. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I mean, you kind of said it all. The reality is, this book has been better the last 2 months, but it's still not really. It's not moving the needle much, and the hole was dug pretty early on. 33 wasn't a great story with Kyle, back on Earth, and 34 and 35 were not good. 36 and 37 have been better, But I don't know about this Burger. I mean, maybe the Major Four stuff might be good in the next issue, but you have to suspect the big belly burger guys are going to bring it to a screeching halt again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just hard to look forward to this book right now.
Yeah, I think the reason I got so passionate, guys, is like, yes, I recapped stuff we've already been ranting against in our coverage for a while, but the reason there's added passion is it's now become a matter of not just I don't know what Jeremy's doing anymore, to I also don't know what DC is doing anymore. Why we have the first major Green Lantern multimedia project in 15 years. There are rumors, there are people who hate this idea, there are people who are excited about this show, so on and so forth. Doesn't matter. We have seen in advance of projects like this announcements of miniseries or spin-offs or prequel comics or specials or special publications of the story that it was based off of or whatever, or new creative teams for the main series going on, whatever, in advance of projects. There has been nothing for Lanterns. Now, like, all of this presupposes like there's any sort of correlation between a multimedia project like a TV show or a movie and comic sales. But I've become angry and disappointed that this is GL's biggest opportunity in 15 years, and it feels like DC is doing nothing about it. I'd like to know if there actually is any data about the correlation between those. But you have to imagine there has to be something, because there are even recent-ish examples. So, like, when James Gunn announced that Supergirl was going to be based off that Woman of Tomorrow comic, that trade was out of stock forever. And despite the performance of that movie, it did make new comic fans. I was on social media. I saw plenty of people talking online about how they finally got their hands on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and they picked it up because they were curious, and they ended up loving it. They started reading other comics, and obviously they were eventually disappointed by the film. But that's an example of the kind of reach that these multimedia projects can have in converting viewers or potential viewers into readers of the comic medium. But is the actual data reflective enough to justify the printing and the hiring of a creative team and so on and so forth that it would take to make those special projects? I don't actually know. So maybe there actually is data to suggest it's not worth doing that, in which case it would make sense what DC is doing. But we've seen them do it so many other times that you have to imagine they have already made that calculation themselves and concluded it is worth the time and effort to do it because they did it with other projects. So then if they did do it, why aren't they doing it with Lanterns? Why is this series at 141 on the sales charts with no idea of a change in creative team or anything special or whatever in the lead up to the most massive GL project in multimedia in 15 years?
Yeah, considering neither book is selling well, and honestly, neither book is putting in particularly large focus on the two characters that are going to be starring in the show.
Yep.
I mean, Guy's going to be in the show, but he's not going to be the main character, and Guy's the one who's being featured in Core, which again I have no issue with because I think Guy is probably more interesting than most of the other characters you could feature in Core. I mean, John is not particularly. I mean, I like John, but he's not particularly interesting. So, but still, they could be doing something. They could. I mean, honestly, you would think it would almost have made more sense to have John and Hal do stuff together in the main Green Lantern book right now,
yep,
than doing what they're doing. Plus, I don't know. It's convoluted. Again, this is a backhanded compliment. We've read worse, that's for sure, but it's not. There's no reason to be enthusiastically engaged with. We can't wait for the next issue to drop. I kind of long for those days. I kind of long for the Jeff Johns days where you just couldn't wait for that. It's like, that issue came out today. You have to go down and get it today. It's like I kind of long for that. And we get an occasional issue that you look forward to. But my God, it's like now with so many of these arcs, you just look forward to it ending and then just hoping that the next arc is going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really all I have to say. Like I said, it's just disappointing that it feels like DC is doing more than ever with Green Lantern in terms of lanterns and getting this 8 episode HBO Max high produced, well cast, story that they're trying to put this creative, with the whole True Detective angle and all this stuff. They're doing more than ever to try and like turn the name of Green Lantern around, hopefully in the eyes of the public since the movie 15 years ago. But also simultaneously feels like they're doing nothing to help stabilize the character on the other side. So,
No, I agree.
all right, what's next?
That's a good question at this point. Let's do Avengers Doomsday.
All right.
Since that we had an unexpected surprise on Monday morning when they dropped that trailer, which obviously reading between the lines and reading the tea leaves, that something else related to Doomsday must be dropping at Comic-Con Saturday night as opposed to this trailer, because they could have dropped that. They could have dropped this trailer like months ago because essentially it was the CinemaCon footage. This is not the trailer that I had read the description of, which would have been much more interesting. But trying to be let's go being glass half full first. Doctor Doom, we don't see much of him. He looks really good. Certainly looks comic accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I have no issue. I actually like the accent. I think it makes sense to give him an accent because he should have an accent, really.
Latverian.
Yep, that's what he is. So that makes sense. I like the Thor taking point in the trailer. I think that also makes sense because this is kind of like a half glass full, half empty thing. But you don't have many characters that are anywhere near as popular as Thor. So you better ride the Thor train pretty heavily, at least in marketing, because the phases 4 through 6 characters ain't going to get the job done. I'm trying to think if there was nothing in here that was surprising. I thought, because again, all this stuff, that's why it's on one level it was puzzling they released it, but again, the logical assumption is they're going to, besides whatever announcements they're going to make for Phase 7, that they're going to show something else related to Doomsday at Comic-Con, because if this is all they had, they might as well have held it then. I mean, but then again, they showed it at another con, so I just hope it's not going to be one of those jobs where they show like a second trailer or one of like the Doom trailer they supposedly had made, but they did release the other 4 back in December into January, but they never released. I just hope they don't show it at Comic-Con and then just not release it to the public. I'm hoping, and we're at this stage of the game and the marketing for this movie, that if you're going to release something somewhere, you better just release it everywhere. Because you're only like 5.5 months away from the movie coming out now. I mean, it's kind of moronic to be tiptoeing around. I like Loki in the trailer because Loki in the trailer confirms pretty much everything that you've been reading about the spoilers about what Loki's role is in the movie and related to Steve. That pretty much confirms that stuff's going to be true. I hate Steve Rogers' look. It's going to bother me to no end that he's going to be looking like this, I think, in the entire movie, in the jeans and a t-shirt and long hair.
Assuming it's Steve.
It's Steve. That's driving me up the fucking wall, too. All the 90% of the people that are making it sound like it's not Steve are the people who clearly didn't read any of the spoilers and leaks about what's going on in this movie. Because if you had that, you'd understand why, in all likelihood. There's always a possibility. I'm not saying this 100% bet the mortgage. But I'm actually at least 90% sure it's Steve. Plus the stuff that we talked about, the stuff you showed me, and the stuff that's been rumored out there where everybody's fighting together. Like in an homage to the 2012 Avengers coming together for the first time. Steve looks exactly the same. If Steve is quote unquote being manipulated, it's because they're all being manipulated. Because if you go back and you look at the scene when they're all together in Avengers Tower, Doctor Doom's really in that scene, but he's edited out. If you look at the back of that scene where you see the Fantastic Four, there's a huge gap between the members of the Fantastic Four. That's where Doctor Doom in all likelihood is. Just like you have that brief moment when you see Bucky and Ant-Man looking. But you don't see who they're looking at. They're looking at Steve, because Steve's also in that scene. Based on everything that you've heard, and I believe that, and that's nothing in this trailer contradicts anything that you've heard before. It's going to be Steve. Because first of all, I would have a difficult time imagining the Russos would come back and bring back Steve Rogers just to really not bring back Steve Rogers and make him a bad guy. That doesn't make any sense. Everybody was hoping that like Doctor Doom was going to have like his Dark Avengers team, and they were going to go square off with the Avengers and have like Maestro Hulk and Captain Hydra and all the shit. But there's been absolutely nothing that's come out about that over the last 6 or 7 months to indicate that any of that's true. So I don't believe it. I think it just bothers me that he, first of all, definitely looks like Chris Evans. They got him at the last minute because he doesn't look anywhere close to Captain America shape based on what we've seen, unless they did it on purpose, unless this is like a CGI thing, trying to make him look less than he is. I'm hoping that the reason that we're going to see him in this, the practical reason why we're seeing him in not a suit is because it's probably going to be so that he doesn't step on Sam's toes as Captain America. But I'm hoping, since it's pretty safe to say the Russo's favorite character and must be Captain America at this point, that maybe that's going to be our lifting Mjolnir moment in Secret Wars, as we actually will see Cap finally in his uniform and with a shield that we're not going to see. I mean, he may wield the shield at some point in this movie, like if Falcon's already taken out and he's got Mjolnir and the hammer. And the shield, trying to fight Doctor Doom, but I don't think we're going to see him in Captain America garb. I don't know. I mean, it's a good sign for Marvel that it got so many views in the first 24 hours or whatever. Not as much as Brand New Day, but it got a lot, especially considering this is footage that most people, if you had been paying attention, you heard about this stuff before. I think it's kind of underwhelming. I think it's still a dangerous game walking this road with Doctor Doom and the way they've not built this up at all, and hoping that they can deliver a lot in Doomsday to make us care enough about Doctor Doom, because I think that's not phases 4 through 6 characters ain't going to carry this movie. It's going to be Thor, it's going to be Steve, and it's going to be Doctor Doom, I think. So they better hope the Doctor Doom thing lands really well. Yeah.
So I think my only thought on it personally is the Thor stuff. As I mentioned to you, it makes sense and it doesn't. It makes sense because he's the only one worth anything still left of any caliber to be our POV character. Also, it doesn't make sense because with Thor in the Infinity Saga and all of that stuff, you had like the whole stuff with the escalating of stakes with Thanos, and how a freaking Hulk comes crashing through the ceiling at the beginning of Infinity War and warning that he's coming based on his experience with Thor and his people on the ship after Ragnarok and all of that stuff. So Thor knows and is afraid of what Thanos is capable of doing. And yet you get that speech from Thor in this trailer that makes no sense, because we have none of that between Thor and Doom. Basically, Thor is telling everybody everything I've ever faced is not holding a candle to what's coming with Doom and so on and so forth. So like, you get what we've been talking about, occasionally on the show about the comic side of the equation, how there's not event fatigue. In the same way that there's not comic book movie fatigue, it's escalating stakes fatigue. How every crisis has to be about the multiverse, or then about the next one about time, and then the next one it's about this dark multiverse that's the undercurrent of everything that's coming for us. And then, oh, fuck all of that, it's actually evil of all time is back, and blah, blah, blah. And oh, it's not a multiverse, it's an omniverse, which is a multiverse of multiverses, and it's all in danger. You by that speech that Thor does, it's escalating stakes fatigue, basically going, everything we've been through doesn't hold a candle to fucking anything. We haven't even experienced pain and suffering yet. That is too much for me. Like, I'm not saying I'm out, but I am saying that line, and choosing to deliver that line, whether that's in the movie or just choosing to put it in the trailer, is you are doing too much work to try and convince us that the stakes are high.
Well, I agree with some of that. Again, it's context that if that speech is being delivered in that exactly where he is, he's not talking about Doom at that point, because everybody thinks Doom is a good guy at that point in the movie, based on everything that I've heard. Nobody thinks Doctor Doom is. They think Doom is on the same page as everybody, trying to save the multiverse and to stop the incursions, when that's not what Doom's goal really is. But nobody knows that yet. So that's why Doom is in that scene. Doom is almost assuredly the thing that they edited out in the back when he's standing next to the Fantastic Four. It could be Steve over there too, but everybody's supposed to be in that scene, because on that Fantastic Four ship, supposedly you have the Fantastic Four, you have Doom, you have Steve, and somewhere obviously Thor ends up coming into contact with them too, because that's conversation between Thor and Steve about the Hey Pal with the hammer stuff, I believe, is supposed to take place on the Fantastic Four ship, I believe. Either that or Thor arrives at Avengers Tower right when they arrive, so it's a moment that could technically still be out of it. It's a weird, and I agree with you, it's weird from the perspective that we're going to know stuff inherently that the characters don't in the movie, because we as comic book fans, and plus the friggin' movie's called Doomsday, almost anybody that has a brain in their head is going to figure out, even before the characters in the movie, that Dr. Doom is the bad guy. But they don't know that. They think they're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So that speech, if it occurs where it does in that movie, he's not talking about Doom. He's talking about the collapse of the multiverse and the incursions and everything else. But that's assuming that speech takes place at that moment. It could take place later in the movie, but they're overlaying it in an earlier scene.
Yeah, we shall see.
Yes, we shall see. But yeah, let's hope Comic-Con gives us something better. Speaking of which, I guess let's talk about the figures real quick.
Yep.
We already had. I forget if we talked about it. Did we talk about the White Lantern, Hal? We might have.
I think the image that was circulating online turned out to be AI based on the actual photos we got of Hal, today.
Oh, you mean the original one? But my point is, I don't remember if we 100% talked about it.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a San Diego Comic-Con. I think they're all gold label exclusive White Lantern Hal Jordan. That we knew, that we've known for several weeks, and then like a couple of days ago, like within a week, we found out there's a whole bunch of other McFarlane gold label exclusives, and unfortunately for us, 3 of them are lanterns. We have Ultraviolet John. We have Green Kilowog, and apparently that's supposed to be real. I guess based on the image, that's actually really supposed to be Sinestro Corps Kilowog, the one from the beginning of the Adams run. Even though why they're making it so gold, I don't get. But either way, it's a cool chase figure. And they have White Lantern Kyle, which of course is the same Kyle figure that we've seen 3 times before, but he's a White Lantern, so it makes it cooler. And those are available at Comic-Con, as Chad and I found out today, if on the McFarlane site using the equal, it's like it's a link. I will, for the hell of it, I will post the links when I post this episode, because technically speaking, I believe they're still supposed to be valid to try to put your name in to try to get a chance at one of these figures up until sometime on the Tuesday this episode. Most people might listen to this first.
Yeah, basically, guys, it's a lottery. You put your card and your info down so that it auto charges you if you get picked to be one of the people to buy the figure you're signing up for.
Yeah, it's the links are basically mcfarlane.runfair.com, and then there's separate links for each one of these exclusive characters. Now Hal is not available yet. Chad and I talked about this yet, but I don't think Hal is actually physically going on sale at Comic-Con yet, while Kilowog, John, and Kyle already have. So that might be the reason why there isn't a link yet for Hal to try to do the same. But
I wouldn't be surprised if Hal won't be available. I think he might be Comic-Con exclusive for sure.
It might be. We're gonna. By the time this episode comes out, we'll know. Obviously, in the next couple of days, a lot of people will find out. But if it is, then I would post a link for that too. But you can put your name in as an entry to get Kyle, to get John, to get Kilowog. Like Chad said, you put all your card information, your shipping information in, and then if you win, and basically you're going to get notified, but you're going to be charged right away. So that's why you have 5 days to enter, but you also have 5 days to change your mind and take away your entry. Or if you change your mind after that, I think I'll do it again, you can go back in and enter again. It's just the fact that the way they set it up is that they really ideally want you to check that box. I don't know if you could have proceeded if you didn't check the box that said the charge immediately, but I did anyway. But if you do check that box, if you happen to win, then boom, you're going to get charged and you're going to get one, and you'll get an email notification. So at least if there's a chance, which is more than we probably thought we were going to get, without having to spend $100 to $200 on each figure to get them on eBay.
Yeah, I put in for Kyle because I have to have a White Lantern. I love my White Lanterns. Like Mark loves his Blue Lanterns. Like if I'm going to collect a Lantern figure outside of Green Lanterns, my choice of core would be the White Lantern core. But speaking of, shout out to Mark on air, just because Mark was kind enough to send me those Thrilljoy figures.
Oh, you got them fine. I was starting to really get concerned
No. It's my fault. I didn't want to check the mail because I live in an apartment complex. Obviously, like the mailbox is at the front of the complex, not like right outside my door or anything. So unless it gets delivered to my door, I got to go out to the front of the complex. And I live in Texas and it's 103 degrees outside. So I don't want to go outside. So like that's the whole thing. I just the willpower, funnily enough, to go to the mailbox is just enough for me. But I opened the package today, and Mark was kind enough to send me both a Green Lantern and a White Lantern. Did you even keep one for yourself? Did you get one?
Yes, I have a White Lantern.
Okay, that's good. Well, I appreciate that because I was really going to hunt that one down when I had the expendable income to do so because, I need my White Lantern. So that was very kind of you. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Yeah, I was able to snag a few of those. Well, I got one whole set for a pretty good price of a green and the white, and then I had already gotten the white, which actually, ironically, which I had gotten first, unfortunately, it benefited you, let's put it this way, that I got the price I paid just to get a white, then it only was like about $10 more. I ended up getting a complete set when it was available. It's like, oh, I'll take that. So since the four ones I bought on my own were all Hal and green, but which is okay. And I'll mention this briefly just because if you're a Rocky fan, because I showed this to Chad and Jim too, sometime in the next few weeks they're going to do a Rocky Thrill Joy, and the problem is the hero figure is not nearly as exciting as the Green Lantern one. The Hal one was cool. Even if I had an extra Hal, I just would have done gray temples on him. If I had been overly ambitious, you could have tried to parallax him. There's things you could have done. But the Rocky one, unfortunately, the hero figure is just Rocky like in his sweatsuit training with his winter hat on. The 1 in 6 chase figure is the one you'd want, because that's Rocky in the Stars and Stripes trunks, Apollo's trunks. And of course, the ultra rare super chase figure, which is sucks because it's even more rare than the friggin' Chip was, which was 1 in 48. The 1 in 96 chase is friggin' Apollo Creed in the Stars and Stripes trunks. I'm guessing it's supposed to be from the original Rocky, though we can make a case it's from Rocky 4 too, with the Uncle Sam hat on his head.
Yeah.
So I would love, that's an awesome chase figure. That's a much better chase figure per capita than that stupid Chip figure. But I'll be lucky if I even get the variant. That's why I have to decide ahead of time how many I want to buy, because I'm going to buy them all at once.
Did you take your Green Lantern out of the box? Because they put so much work into this packaging. I don't even know if I want to take it out of the box. I
have, yes, I believe I have my green and my white out of the box. I think I actually still have another green. I think technically I have one extra green. But
are they a light plastic or like a harder vinyl? Because like I said, I haven't taken it out of the box, so I haven't felt it.
I think it's. What did you ask me? Plastic or vinyl?
Yeah, is it like, because I rattled it around in the box and it felt like it was like a light plastic.
I think it is probably a little more plastic than vinyl, but it's probably not that different than the body of a regular Pop, though. I think, to be fair.
Well, I was like, because there's a difference in the feel of a Funko Pop, which is more plasticky, versus like a soda pop that comes in those cans, because those feel like harder resin.
I honestly can't tell you which one it feels more like, the packaging is friggin' impressive. I really should still do that video for the White Lantern one. That's why I've been putting that off. But the individual cardboard box is such a nice touch, and then you have the toppers on the top of the bottom to prevent the slipcase from sliding off. And if you don't want to open the slipcase, because some people did, one of the ones I got has the zip. They ripped down that cardboard zipper instead of just sliding the slipcase off, which you can. It's just such a well packaged fit. I mean, it's really beautiful. It's one of the better packaged. I mean, you really didn't have to worry about them shipping it to you, and if you're getting it in anything less than mint condition based on the way they packaged it. But yeah, I thought that was fantastic. I would love to see them do more lanterns like that. But yeah, so if I'm gonna get the Rocky ones, I don't think I'm gonna get 6. If I knew they'd send me a case, I would get 6 just so I'd be guaranteed at least a Rocky, and I'd be guaranteed a Rocky and Stars and Stripes or an Apollo and Stars and Stripes. But I probably am just gonna order like 4, but I'll order them at one time and just hope by ordering them at once I'm more likely to at least get a regular chase. Yeah. So let's see. What I've seen, saw Evil Dead Burn last week. It's okay. I mean, I don't like that franchise. I probably have said that before on the air. Now, is an Evil Dead movie? I probably liked it more than Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise only had that nice atmosphere of being in an apartment building that worked. And I liked it better than the Evil Dead 2013 reboot, because I kind of been skimming. Now, it kind of put me on an Evil Dead kick, I'm not going to lie, between Tubi between Tubi and HBO Max. I think I've watched almost all of them over the last week or so. But I'm still not a huge fan of the franchise. But if you like Evil Dead, you'll probably like it. It does reference some. It obviously references stuff from previous movies and sets things up for what. Well, actually, it can't. It sets things up for a sequel, but not for the next movie they're doing. Because ironically, the next movie they're doing is going to be a prequel, which is probably going to be The Kiss of Death. Because we know prequels tend not to do that well, especially out of context. I only have one more thing. Do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else. Go for it.
I guess we probably should mention the Kaylee Hoddle thing, because that was kind of disturbing. Like the Grim Reaper lately, like about a month or so ago, was DeVay Chase from Lilo and Stitch, that she died, which I never mentioned because it was self-serving. I actually did meet her. I actually have 2 signed pieces of memorabilia by DeVay Chase from Lilo and Stitch. But it just didn't seem like it didn't seem necessary. I guess that's the best way to mention it. So Kaylee Hoddle, who played Gia in both the Godzilla vs. Kong and New Empire. Mm-hmm. She died in a car accident this week, which I guess there's conflicting information about how old she was, because by her birth date she was 19, but everybody keeps saying she was 18, possibly because her father referred to her as 18. So unless the birth date that is out there publicly is not really her birth date, I don't know. But either way, she was either 18 or just barely had turned 19. So that really sucks. I mean, she was really good in those movies too, and besides being obviously a really good role model for the deaf community and the deaf acting community, it's just the fact that she probably had a really bright future ahead of her, and it's disappointing. So just tragic on so many levels.
Yeah, the article we read was talking about how her father heard the news and had to come up and all that stuff. And I actually, because they're one of the popular things on Facebook now is like local groups in terms of like the towns you live in. People posting about, I need somebody to mow my yard, or come pick me up, or I'm selling this, like all that stuff that happens in smaller towns across the U.S. There's Facebook pages for that now. And in my local one, because I live in Kyle, Texas, I'm not giving anybody my address, obviously, but I live in Kyle, Texas, which is just south of Austin. So it's Austin, and then down I-35, it's Buda, and then Kyle. So I'm partway between Austin and San Antonio. And apparently she was from Kyle. Obviously, I wasn't born and raised in Kyle, but I've lived here for the past 5-ish years. And she went to the Texas School for the Deaf, which is one of the biggest deaf schools in the country, I believe, which is in downtown Austin. I've been there. I took an ASL course in my community college days. And one of the extra credit things they had us do was go down for a football game at the Texas School of the Deaf. And they had little, just so we could experience being what it was like, being a part of the deaf community. And I saw how instead of blowing a whistle at a football game, because the players are deaf, there's this massive drum on the sidelines that they pound, and the players feel the vibration. And that's how they know, the quote unquote whistle has been blown, the play is dead or whatever. So it was a cool experience. So it was interesting to have that touch point. I had no idea she was from the area, let alone the area I live in.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That was an interesting twist of fate. I guess she also did track and field for them, based on what I read. Yeah, that was. I mean, when I first saw her picture, when it popped up like on Facebook or something, I just figured, okay, well, maybe it's her birthday, maybe, or
she's finally confirmed for
or something, or she was cast in something, and then I actually read the headline. It's like, oh my god, it's like I couldn't. It's just, especially because you've seen her. I mean, she still was so young, but you saw her like grow up so much just from one Kong movie to the next.
And she was such a good actress. She was the high points of some of those films. You can only imagine how far she could have gone.
Yeah.
Obviously, she would have been, unfortunately, typecast because of being deaf, but she did so much with it.
But to a certain, I mean, you were correct to a certain extent, but I mean, obviously, Marlee Matlin had a pretty good career.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I guess technically Marlee Matlin does speak a little bit, even though she doesn't speak much in her roles. But I don't necessarily know if that is. I mean, I'm sure that helps, but I think I think she would have been fine. I think she probably would have had a very good career if that's what she chose to do, to continue, if that's what she wanted to do. for the majority of her life or just for a little bit longer. But yeah, that was really disturbing. I'm looking at something that I have no idea whether this is true or not, but I'm going to show it to you right now. I just saw it. I'm going to send it to you on Facebook. But yeah, I think not exactly a high point to end on, but it was something that we both wanted to mention, and I guess that was the only real place to mention it.
Yeah. Maybe she'll be in Supernova. I don't know. It's weird that we haven't heard about her yet because
I'm pretty sure she's not supposed to be. Like some people have suggested, it would be nice at least if they kind of like give her like dedicated tour or give her credit or something, or in the beginning or the end of the credits say something about her. But yeah,
because another person we lost, we didn't really talk about, Sam Neill. He's supposed to be in it.
That is true too. Sam Neill was another one that was that. I mean, Sam Neill obviously was more. You knew it was coming based on what he was dealing with, in all likelihood. But yes,
I actually have a story about that. The weekend before he passed, I was at Pokemon Go Fest, which the Pokemon Go app. You guys have seen it, out there. People playing on their phone. It's been out for 10 years. Go Fest is this global event where more legendaries and rare Pokemon and more spawns than usual and so on and so forth are out there for you to catch. So I was playing with my local group, and in Chicago they have the Pokemon Fossil Museum exhibit, which is simultaneously displaying obviously fake fossils of the fossil Pokemon alongside their real life counterparts that inspired the fictional versions, right? But while people were at this Chicago museum, only around that museum they would spawn this Pikachu that was wearing it was called Excavator Pikachu, and he was basically wearing a paleontology outfit. He had a little pickaxe, he had a denim shirt, he had a red bandana, he had like a cowboy-ish style hat, so on and so forth. And I was jokingly referring to him all weekend as the Alan Grant Pikachu. And some members of our group, our local group that plays Pokemon Go, that were there for Go Fest, I knew had gone to Chicago and got themselves several of these Pikachu. So it was one of my goals that weekend to get somebody to trade me one so that I could have it, because I was such a big dinosaur kid growing up and I loved Jurassic Park. I was like, I got to have Alan Grant Pikachu. So much I did get that trade, and I just got the one. I saved it in my group of Pokemon, so I knew I wouldn't transfer it or delete it. And I nicknamed it. I deleted the word Pikachu, and I named it Alan Grant. And then after that weekend, we got the news that he had passed.
Chad Bokeman strikes again.
Yeah, I did it. That is my fault.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I have a lot of fond memories of Sam Neill long before. Yeah. I think of him in Omen 3. I think of him in Event Horizon, especially. I think of him in Event Horizon just as much. He did a lot of good stuff. So yeah, that's lost a lot of interesting people have gone this year so far. We're only in January. June. I tried again, July. I had the J right. Only in July.
Well, on that sad note, if people want to reach out to us, what do they do?
LanternCast@gmail.com. The website is LanternCast.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook. If you like, use hashtag GLCast to track us down. If we're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you listen to us on, please leave us a positive review. Last but not least, if you'd like to leave us a text or a voicemail, 708 Lantern, and let us know what you think.
And we're on YouTube. Good night, everybody.
And Discord too. Good night, everybody.